Okay, so we're going to be looking at this question now, inshallah. Find an expression for the area of rectangle function A. And the function is given as f of x equals to 6 over x plus 2, and it's sketched for us as well. This is the function of x. The domain for this function is 0 to 6. Let's find out the area of the function, rectangle function. So the rectangle is over here. Let me highlight that for you. So this is the rectangle. Okay, the rectangle is this yellow shaded part. Now let's find out the area for the rectangle. Now area for the rectangle is, remember, length times the width. So let's figure out the length. So I'm going to call this length the horizontal, and if you notice, it is just this point over here, whatever that point is. So that point is the same as that point over there, C, and this C is defined as A, and the y coordinate for that is defined as function of A. So function of A is, if it, all you have to do is just put in the A into that function, so you get 6 over A plus 2. Okay, so that's my coordinate for C. So based on that coordinate for C, if C has a x coordinate of x, bring it down, this is A. So my x, or my length, okay, I'm going to consider that as my A. And for my width, which is my vertical height, that y value is just the y coordinate, which is 6 over A plus 2. So my area of the rectangle is going to be A times 6 over A plus 2. Now, one of the common mistakes the students would do at this step is this next is a simplification. So they might just cancel out the a's with the a. Now remember, you can't do that because in the denominator it's not just a, it is a plus 2. And think of numbers, all right? So if you want to simplify a with a, they have to be the same number, right? They can't be different, otherwise you can't simplify them. So if a over here outside it was 3, inside was 3 plus 2, which is 5. So you can't cancel out 3 with 5. Okay, so this a is not on its own, it's actually getting added with something, that's why you can't simplify it. So the only way of simplification is multiply the a with the 6, which is the numerator, and the denominator is a plus 2. So this is the answer for part A. Okay, so the area, find an expression for the area. Now state the implied domain. Now the domain for this function a that we have just found, sorry, that was a, not b, right, b. Okay, now to find this implied domain, remember in the previous question as well, when we're finding domain, what we have to do is just make make this, or just sketch this graph. Okay, try to sketch this graph and see what you get. So what I'll do is I'll define this function first. So I will define it as g of x 6a. So I'm going to put it as 6x, okay, 6 times x, and x plus 2. All right, once it's defined, then I'm going to click on Control Doc, and they'll ask me for a new page, and I'll click on Graphs. So I want to sketch g of x. Now have a look at g of x graph. Okay, now remember, what does g of x give us? So the y coordinates give us the area. Now would area ever be in a negative? No, it would not be. We don't want the area to be negative, and it can never be negative. That's why the only realistic domain that is there is from 0 and above until infinity. Okay, so that would be the realistic domain. But then think about the question over here that we have. This function over here that we got the area from starts at 0, stops at 6. So basically our x value, the a value, right, because it's restricted in terms of a, because the a is restricted to be a maximum of 6. A cannot be more than 6 because this is what the function states. Okay, so the a, remember the dimensions of x and y, or of our length and width, are coming from this function of f of x. So if it has that restriction, then this function of area will also have the same restriction because the same lengths and widths are used over here. Okay, so the restriction in A is that it cannot be less than 0, okay, because that would be a negative and it doesn't make sense. So it will start from 0 and then it can't be more than 6. This is where the function of x stops. So D is 0 to 6. Okay. And let's talk about range. That's what the second part of this same question is asking. If D is equals to 0, have a look at this graph over here. Now the graph trace would help us. Okay, but before that, what I would like to do is to go back to my tab, click on tab, click up, and then I will put in the same domain that I have. Okay. Or for saving time, I will do x less than or equal to 6. So I only get up till 6. There we go. Okay. So I can imagine the function from 0 to 6. That's where it's going to stop. Next, what I'm going to do is go to menu 5, 1, and click on left. All right, that is my maximum of the range, which is 4.5. We can write it as a fraction, 9/2, and the minimum is 0. Okay, that is my range. State the maximum value of a of x. Okay, now that answer is also with us. So state the maximum value. The maximum value is 9/2 units squared. And sketch the graph while the graph is right there in front of us. So all you have to do with the sketching, make sure that you don't take it to the negative side. Just sketch from 0 to the maximum point. Hopefully that explains this question.